Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be making a Howls Moving Castle Lightbox. I mentioned in a previous Ghibli video that I'm a huge Studio Ghibli fan and my absolute favorite movie is Howls Moving Castle, so I wanted to make it into a lightbox. So I just got started and I sketched out my design, which is pretty simple. It's just the castle wandering through the moors with some pretty mountains in the background, and yeah. I also wanted to make a bigger lightbox, so I decided to use 2 pieces of cardstock turned vertically to get the size that I wanted, and eventually I want to make lightboxes that are even bigger than me and super big and extravagant, but that's gonna be a while because I don't have the resources, so this will have to do for now. So I just got started on the first layers, which I wanted to be the mountain layers in the background. So I started and I really wanted to step up my game by adding lots of details. So I cut some jagged shapes out on the mountains to represent the details of like the ridges and snow and the rocks. And that really turned out good and I'm really happy with that. I made sure to line up the 2 pages so the edge of the mountain lines up perfectly as I cut it. And once I finished this layer, I added more mountain layers which were drawn and cut in the same way. This third layer of mountains was the last one, so I made sure to cut the jagged pieces bigger and further down because nothing was going to cover the mountains and I wanted it to look good. And once I was happy with that, I moved on to the foreground. The rest of the layers are pretty simple and similar, so I won't spend too much time with this. I just made sure to build up rocks and bushes on the left side and have it blend into the mountains in the distance and then flatten out on the right side. In the original book, the waste is a sandy desert that starts at the edge of the moors, so I wanted to incorporate that by having the terrain flatten out, but I ended up changing it later. And while we're here, I want to talk a bit more about the book, Howls Moving Castle. As much as I love the movie, it does have some flaws, and I will say that the book is so much better. The characters all act different, and there are even different characters altogether. And not to mention that the plot is so, far off that I wouldn't even say they're, the same story. So if you love the movie, I would recommend checking out the book too. The main thing the movie did better was the world building and the castle itself. It's so unique and iconic, and it fits the world really well, and I love it. So yeah, that makes me happy. But anyways, back to the Lightbox. This whole process took quite a bit of time to do, and I was getting impatient. I wasn't really a big fan of how it was looking, and I just wanted to move on to all the details. Hopefully it would pull it together. So I finished everything up quickly and taped all the layers together so they're easier to handle. And now it's time for the fun part, the castle. And like I just said, I love this castle, but I wouldn't exactly call it a castle. It's just a bunch of random, knickknacks and things, together. However, it is the centerpiece in my lightbox, so I have to make it look great. And I was going to do a 3D look, so I did the castle in layers, separated by foam board. And it doesn't really look very promising right now, but that's because I wanted certain details to pop even more. So things like the eyes and the chin will be cut out separately and attached with foam board in between. I cut out all the details on the face and I used a pin to poke the holes for the rivets, which I was really proud of. Then I started cutting all the extra pieces. I was really excited about this because it was cool to have these little pieces to put together. It felt like a puzzle, and I love puzzles, so it was just a lot of fun. Then after I glue everything on, I'm moving on to the next part of the castle. This part is some of the turrets and a couple little knickknacks, like this one piece that looks like an ear, and then some buildings around the edges. I also cut the mouth hole on this layer. There weren't too many separate pieces here, so cutting it out was very quick. Then I just glued the two layers together. And this next layer has the most of the details. It has the wing on the side, some of the main chimneys, and some other things, so I really enjoyed cutting everything out here. And I glued these onto the main castle as well. And lastly, it's time for the layer that has the bulk of the chimneys and most of the pieces at the top, like this tower and a lot of ropes hanging down. And once that was all cut, I glued everything together. And now it's time for the little chicken legs. I drew and cut them out pretty easily. I did my best to make them as accurate as I could, and they were pretty cute, and then I just glued them in place on the layers. I had to add one more layer to attach the back legs onto because the way I planned the Lightbox was to double the spacing between the layers, and the legs of the castle have to line up with those layers, so I had to add this layer for it to line up properly. Now the castle is done, and I think it's so cute. I really love how this turned out, and look at all the details. It just looks so good, and I'm really proud of this. And then I moved on to assembling the background layers. I doubled the foam board like I said before to add more depth. And this layer here is where I glued the castle in, and I had to support it from the bottom, but otherwise it went smoothly and everything worked out pretty well. Then I just finished up the rest of the layers. And now it's on to the fun part, which is adding all the little details. I wanted to add a lot of clouds and steam and mist with tracing paper just to add a lot of details and have it more atmospheric and, like it's in the misty moors and stuff, so I got started on that. Once that was built up and I was happy with it, I decided that the Lightbox needs more life to it, so I added this little cottage with some sheep to make the world seem more real and have life. And here it is all done. I was really happy with it until I tried adding the lights, because originally I planned to use a yellow and a green LED for this, but it turned out way too dark, so I had to cut more holes in the back, but then one of my LEDs broke, so I only had one color, which was nowhere near bright enough, so I found this random light I had, but it's a super bright white and it looks kind of jarring, and it was still too dark to illuminate the face of the castle, so this whole thing turned out very, very annoying. Oh, and none of the parchment paper details show really, so that was very sad and disappointing. Maybe I'll end up remaking this Lightbox sometime better, but yeah, here it is, as is. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye!